Oh, hey, you cool cats and kittens. It is Ray from the LitRPG Audiobook Podcast back today, and I have been naughty. I've been away for a while. Things have still been happening in my craziness that I just cannot go into anymore. I'm so tired of talking about insane things happening in my life. So today, because I've been naughty, we're going to do a naughty episode. That's right. It's going to focus and feature all the naughty, saucy things that you get in LitRPG. So it's going to focus a lot on the harem style of the LitRPG. I have done a couple naughty episodes in the past, and this one's a doozy. So if it's not your cup of tea, I'm sorry. We'll move ahead and do another episode. It's not the normal variety next time around. But today, as a special thank you to a lot of the people that do appreciate the harem and have asked me to do this episode, and I've had a couple. Lavelle Jackson is one of those guys that he's always, can you just do another naughty episode? And so, not because Lavelle Jackson asked me to, but I have had a lot of people ask me to do a naughty episode again, and I think it's enjoyable for everybody. So I'm going to do that today. This is going to be the harem style LitRPG Audiobook Podcast. Get ready for some saucy, spicy adventures as we go down the tunnel of love. LitRPG flavor style. Hunka munka, chicka bow wow. Alright, first up is The Swordsman, a Pulp Harem fantasy adventure by Zach Archer, narrated by Chris Graves, for a book length of 6 hours and 37 minutes.
The taste of blood was sharp in Adam Fraser's mouth as he led the others up the observatory's hillside to greet the small army of trolls. His buddy Jonathan Hung was on his left, gun in hand, and Huldra, the voluptuous seductress of forest and fen, was on his right. She was white-knuckling a battle-axe and sported a look that could melt steel. "Get ready," she said, her ample breasts heaving, glistening with sweat. "Here come the trolls." "No, that's something you don't hear every day," Adam replied. The trolls swooped down on them, and for a fraction of a second, Adam thought it was like being trapped inside a snow globe. Only the snow had been replaced by dirt, and the townspeople by trolls, diminutive little death dealers kicking up dust as they launched themselves into the air. Adam unleashed a flurry of punches, as Huldra went to work, carving a path through the assailants.
So I'm just going to come clean here and say honestly, this is the harem special, and I'm not going to be quite as ardent as I should be when it comes to it. I've been doing this a lot with other stuff, like it may not be LitRPG, but it would fit into a certain thing, like our Apocalypse special or something like that. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, if I'm doing the harem special, I should be able to do a harem book if it's just pure harem, because it kind of goes in with that theme, and there are people that in LitRPG like harem novels anyway, so I'm going to go with this. So this is why this book is included. It's not, LitRPG per se, but it is a harem, and I'm going to just go in there and say this. I totally grew up reading myths from around the world and old pulp novels that my grandfather had left laying around as, he got older. He just kind of put stuff down, and it just stacked up. And I mean, I had a trove of old books that I could read. There were Westerns and shadow novels and Spider, and you name it. I mean, it was what made me love like old time radio programs, because those were based on those pulp novels. And then that led to my current addiction to audiobooks. So pulp novels and me, we have like a really good connection with, LitRPG anyway. Now the Swordman combines the old Beowulf legend with that pulpy feel of yesteryear and adds in something else, a bit of spice, known as harem. And to be truthful, it ain't just a bit, as it is a big old helping saucy goodness that kicks you right in your face. So I like when a book announces what it is and just does not pretend to be something else. Pulp and harem are pretty much all over this book. And at times I felt like Robert Howard might have written this if he had gotten really drunk while he was horny. I mean, you know what I mean? I totally didn't mean that in a negative way at all. I mean, Robert Howard was probably drunk and horny a lot. Conan really just kind of, come on, drunk and horny. That's Conan every time he was awake. So anyway, it's actually a compliment. And as I think that Howard often wanted to go a bit further than what he did when he wrote because of the period of time. I mean, he just didn't get into that stuff like you do nowadays. Not if you wanted to be popular and sell books. Anyway, this book is a fun romp that covers a few different genres. We have sword and sorcery, time travel, pulp, fantasy, even a little melodrama. The story focuses on a down-and-out filmmaker who accidentally meets a temporarily challenged Beowulf and his bevy of beautiful buxom babes bumming around, which kind of goes into his need for someone to star into his reality TV show. Now, are there a few issues? Sure, I mean, no book is perfect, but here I think the only issue is that I really had was that the characters could have just used some more development. There's plenty of snark, sex, battle, magic, and even some excellent relationship development, but there were points where the characters sometimes came across as being a little bit 2D rather than 3D. Still, I think the book had a good balance and pacing, and I wish I could have reviewed this years ago. I mean, I got this probably 2-3 years ago, but like I said, I just didn't consider it to be LitRPG, and so it couldn't go onto the podcast. And I'm just going to like I said, I reviewed this and put it on Audible, but never did it on the show. And I think that's a discredit to this book and to like Chris Graves, because I felt that Chris Graves did an excellent job in the narration. He did accents that made me like Mosshart just by the attitude that he put on when he spoke through him. And he definitely adds grit to the story and some extra impact that you don't often get from narrators nowadays. And this book was actually one of my earlier introductions to Harem and Chris Graves, and Graves impressed me a lot. He gave me for the fever of the flavor of Chris Graves, I guess. I don't know. I just thought he did a great job. Either way, he really pulls off the snark so perfectly, and it just impresses me to no end. He carries this book, does an amazing job. I really, really enjoyed it. I think you will too. So give the book a listen. It was fun and worth the 6+ hours to get through. Like I say, 6 hours. It's not that long. It's kind of short, but it's worth it. It was an excellent way to pass the time. That's all I can say. It was an excellent way to do that. My final score is 8.3 stars. It may not be LitRPG, but it is Harem, and the Naughty Special focuses on that. And so I'm putting in here, and if you don't like it, you can call my boss and complain to him. So the next one in our saucy episode is My Girlfriends Are Pirate Elves, a fantasy light novel by Eden Red, narrated by Sierra Klein, which is from the series My Girlfriends Are Pirate Elves. Book 1. It has a book length of 7 hours and 2 whole minutes.
Steam rose up from the cup of coffee like a ghostly spirit. It waved and flowed with the barely noticeable breeze, sunlight bathing the world in warming brilliance. Gulls floated on invisible thermals as the sounds of waves crested against several jagged stones rising above the waterline in the harbor. John gave a contented sigh, drinking in the bright morning before taking a sip of his coffee. Staring out, he scanned across the harbor and admired its subdued elegance. Small boats powered along, leaving wakes behind them. A head turned in his direction and gave a wave. John lifted his cup to acknowledge the boater as they continued on, weaving between the few stone spires that jutted up from the harbor depths. Bringing his cup back down, he leaned against the chest-high metal fence and let out another warm sigh. John's gaze shifted to the east, and he took another sip, his thoughts falling into order and planning out his day.
So, fan favorite Eden Red. I mean, she's really well known in the community, and she's very popular, and she's a great writer. Rocks the high seas with her new tale of naughty pirate elves who arrive on his ship and sweep a humble dockmaster off his feet and into a world of saucy exploits. The book is a lighthearted romp and has a very almost, just from the cover again, I'm going to go on this. It has an anime feel to it just from the cover. Although, unlike anime where, you have these, let me just kind of say, I might just be getting that vibe, okay, from the art, because the MC John in no way acts like one of those wimpy, clueless men who gets surrounded by all these hot chicks and never takes the plunge. John knows a good thing when he sees it, and he takes total advantage of it when he can, as often as he can. So it kind of has an anime feel to it, but it's not anime at all. Eden knows how to write and does so in a style that makes you know that she is a lady, as her graphic scenes, which she has plenty of, don't come off as raunchy or crude. It's actually a pretty highbrow, and I'm not taking away from her sex scenes at all. I'm just saying, it's just more than he grabbed a boob and did his thing. There's a little bit more to it. There's more words and flowery stuff to it. But it's a nicer, neater way of getting those kind of scenes put out there. The book itself is fun, it's easygoing, and the MC just kind of goes with the flow, as I think most men in this situation would. I mean, if you're surrounded by a bunch of beautiful, buxom babes, and they want to do you, what would you do? I mean, the book is like a reverse of the 1942 movie Black Swan, not the Natalie Portman garbage bag that was. This is kind of like the Black Swan from 1942. They got meshed up with like Princess Bride sensibilities, or maybe even if you wanted to swap out Black Swan, I would almost say Against All Flags. If you guys know anything I'm talking about, I'm a big swashbuckler fan. I grew up watching these movies with my grandparents. My grandfather loved, Errol Flynn and Tyrone Power and you name it, and Maureen O'Hara. Anything with Maureen O'Hara. So I'm going to go with Against All Flags. Where she played like this hardcore pirate chick in that one. So, it's kind of like that revert. You have the hardcore pirates and then the wimpy guy. And in this one here, the wimpy guy is not so wimpy in that movie, but you get the point. Anyway, it's serious, but it doesn't take itself too seriously. In other words, the book is just about having some oddball misadventures followed by some spicy Spice Town adventures after all the fighting and pillaging and stuff like that sort of thing is done. I really like the tone of the book, and I think that Red managed to pull off a brilliant type of tale while making you think it is just another harem book. It's not by a long shot. This is a very different type of harem book, and I really have to give her credit. Now, Sierra Klein, I did one with her before, and I just don't think I connected with her as well on that book as I do here. Here, she is really a siren. I mean, her voice can call you across worlds with the premise of fun and sensuality that makes you not mind crashing onto the rocks. I mean, she certainly has no issue going from humor to spicy at all. And in fact, I think she helps carry the book, even though the story is well written and can stand well on its own. She's a solid narrator here and fits the story well. I could have just as easily called Klein a succubus, but that doesn't make you feel like she sucked the life out of you. Maybe like she would want to, because this book is so anyway, like I said, I know I had one other time where I don't think I connected as well with Sierra as I could have. This book really brings her out. I really enjoy her a lot here. I have to say, this is a book that I actually expected more. I enjoyed more than I expected. I don't know why I reverse things like that sometimes. I enjoyed this way more than I expected, because I'm not really overly fond of pirate stuff. Like I said, I like swashbuckler things, but pirates in general, they don't do me. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean, I could have cared less about movie 1, let alone movie 8 or 9 or whatever it is. But Eden Red manages to bring the story to life in such a vibrant and bouncy way that I truly enjoyed everything she's putting out. And when I say bouncy, I don't mean, of the jiggly things. I mean, it's kind of a lighthearted romp. It's very, very fun and airy. And truly, I loved it. I can see that this is going to be a healthy, long-lived series, and I could absolutely go for more piratical hijinks as long as the pirates are elves and they're all John's girlfriends. So, I just have to say, the way this is heading, I'm all for it. I give the book 8.3 stars. It was a fun romp. It just didn't matter if it was the stuff between the sheets or the sheets were used for sale. Either way, it was a good connection. I had fun with everything. Thankfully, this book did not jump the shark. It sailed smoothly over it and created a whole new type of nautical naughtiness that I and you can enjoy. So please do. So next up is Gryff the Griffin Rider, A Fantastic Harem, Book 1, written by Mark Sloss. Mark Sloss, all right. Narrated, and forgive me, I can hear a name repeated 10 times, and as soon as I see it written, the pronunciation of the proper wording for that name is going to escape me. It's going to elude me, and I'm going to make up my own word all over again. So I know I have heard this name now. I know it, and I still cannot pronounce it, but I'm going to try. So take off 1 star right there for me from that one. but it's narrated by Daniel Wisniewski and Rebecca Woods. It has a book length of 14 hours and 59 minutes.
"I am Lurkan," said a voice inside my head that sounded like a fast-talking salesperson. "A member of the Kern Pride of Griffins. Step no closer, and toss the food at my feet." I stopped and glanced around. Yep, that had to be the Griffin talking. I tossed the arm at his front paws, which was quickly devoured with a loud crack of bones breaking. "I would have guessed they could not talk," I said out loud to no one in particular.
"They don't. At most they gesture or point. The fact that Berg hasn't mauled and eaten you is a wonder,"
Nalia said. "Who is Burke?"
"Him."
She pointed at the Griffin. "No, that is Lurkan. He told me only a moment ago." Hearing his name out loud confirmed it for Lurkan. He went from a relaxed, comfortable posture to on his paws and attentive. "By the great Griffin creator, you heard me!"
So here's another thing you can take a star off for me for. I had gotten this little prop out from my kids' toys so that when I talked about like the pirate elves, which I've already reviewed, I've recorded it, I could show this and be like, oh, the pirate elves are coming. Totally forgot. It just slips my mind. I'm just getting old and I'm lazy apparently. So that's 2 stars off now. So anyway, I'm just going to come out and say I would have rated this book a little bit higher, but it had a bit of a wonky beginning. Okay, I mean, just certain things that happen that I just think that we didn't need to have. We could have just started right when he wakes up, so to speak. But like as soon as Gryff finds himself in his new world, honestly, all the precursor stuff could have been dropped and then kind of rethreaded into the story in smaller increments and kind of let the backstory unfold without having to wait to get into the game lit world. I think it would have worked a little bit better. The book itself, much like My Girlfriends Are All Pirate Elves, woo, there it is very much a lighthearted romp that will suck you in. And once you get there, believe me, once you get there. Wait, did I say suck you in? Yeah, I did. Once you get there, the getting's good. Yeah, it is, baby. Oh, yeah. Now, Gryff, my boy, is an Olympic athlete, or he was an Olympic athlete, who sort of gets screwed out of participating in the Olympics. And, there's a whole lot of back dealing kind of sneakiness going on and crap that happens to him that is out of his control. So he ends up joining a sort of death race. And, well, you get the idea from the name of the race what happens, right? I mean, it's a death race. So he wakes up in a small fantasy-style village and discovers he's just a little bit more than he used to be. And I just realized when you're talking about harem stuff, making this symbol with your fingers, making this shape, talking about harem, it's not something you really want to do. It does not look good for the men. So, anyway, he's stronger. He's more of a man, so he's stronger. He can talk to griffins. And if that isn't enough to make a guy who just lost, or did he win a death race? Because I'm not really sure. Do you win a death race if you die, or if you kill somebody? Do you lose if you die? I'm not sure. I mean, it's a death race, so there's a lot of things that are ambiguous. It's up in the air for me. I really can't tell. So anyway, if getting amped up and getting some top of the line talking powers, because he gets to talk to some griffins, that's his new power. And that's why the name of the show that he's starring in for somebody's entertainment is called Gryff the Griffin Rider. But he also discovers that the number of babes on this world totally outstrips the number of men. Yeah, I did say the number of men. No, wait. Outstrips. Yeah, that's what I said. Outstrips the number of men by a very fun ratio. Plus, this is never discussed, but I think he got another superpower too. The ability to talk to chicks into digging him. Yeah, baby. Yeah. So here's the good news for fans of naughtiness. This is a harem novel, and it does have some saucily explicit sex scenes in it. So this here ain't a tale for the kiddos. And I know because I just asked my 10-year-old if he wanted to listen, and he told me it was totally not appropriate. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It was my 8-year-old. Anyway, if you have a taste for straight up, no fade away to sex scenes, then you won't have an issue with this book at all, because there ain't no fading away unless you pass out from it. mental exertion. Oh, from reading about those gymnastics. And there it was, the Olympics reference, full circle. Get it? Yeah. Anyway, Daniel Wisniewski. I'm going to go with that. Wisniewski. And Rebecca Woods knocked this out of the park. I'm getting more and more impressed with a lot of the duos that suddenly have started popping up for Harem books. The delightful atmosphere the book carries seems to come from the interaction and interplay of these two. I mean, they do a great job in bringing the story to life, like Dr. Frankenstein. Or wait, Frankenhooker. Yeah, that's how they bring this story to life, like Frankenhooker. The book started off on some wobbly legs. It really found its footing and got to the meat and taters of the story. Gryff took off and soared like an eagle. I bet you were expecting Griffin, right? No, like an eagle. In ways that I never expected. And I really appreciated it. So I'm going to give the book 8 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's going to make a great series. It just kind of had a bit of a stumble at the beginning. So I'm going to just say, just keep reading. Just keep going. If it's something you're going, I can't do this or something like that, or it doesn't fit, just say the heck with it and go through. Because once you get to the world, it all changes. It all changes. And some books are like that. Some you're going to say, oh, I just don't know where they're starting off at. But by the end, it's pure Oscar material, pure gold. And this is one of those books. And like I say, I would have had a much higher score, but the first couple of things there, this kind of pulled me down a little bit. But like I say, it's worth it. It is well worth your time, your effort, your money. Dig that book and check it out. All right, so next up is Sketch by Marco Frazetta, narrated by Chris Graves and Andrea Parsnow. This is a sketch series, book 1, book length of 7 hours and 42 minutes.
So cool, I slurred.
Creator, no!
Thoreau's voice thundered behind me, but it was too late. The giant butterfly latched its sucker mouth onto me, and I felt my shirt tear as microscopic barbs pierced my flesh. Yeah! I shouted, recoiling back, but the sucker was holding me to it. Thoreau's legs carried her in huge bounds, until a moment later she was descending down on me in a terrifying leap, spear held high.
I'll have your head!
She cried as she aimed her weapon straight for the giant butterfly. The insect unlatched its sucker from me just in time to dart back, dodging the diamond spear tip. Thoreau staked the ground with the force of her attack instead. The giant bug began darting away through the air.
No, you don't!
The red Amazon lunged into the most terrifying javelin throw I'd ever seen, the weapon rocketing from her.
So here's a book that's all about the narration. I'll get to the story in a minute, but this is absolute proof that great narration can elevate a book to a point where the written word just couldn't achieve what it needed to. And Chris Graves and Andrea Parsnow tag team the hell out of this here book. They give it a lot of life and love. And somehow Chris manages to make the MC bearable. Andrea brings every woman to life in a distinct way. I mean, you just know who's speaking from just the voice. And I'm going to say this as a compliment. It's not meant to be taken in the way. But Andrea has a voice made for harem books. I mean, let's just be honest about it. She is sultry, seductive, so full of emotion. You can hear raw desire as well as confidence every time she plays one of these ladies. And I'm just not just saying that here. I'm saying that every book that she does with harem. She's just perfect for this genre. Chris narrates, and I like I say, he carries this book like Atlas with the world on his back. Somehow he manages to bring some life and light into the story in a way that few other narrators could, because to me, the story just wasn't all that powerful. The main character is kind of unlikable. He's I don't know, there's just certain things about him that I think if it was just written down, I don't think I would have enjoyed half as much as I did because of the way that Chris handles this whole affair here. He makes it much more bearable and tolerable than it would have been normally. Now, this Mr. Frazetta is no relation to the late, great Frank Frazetta, the artist of the famous Death Dealer. Marco Frazetta does an okay job. Personally, I like the concept as it feels a lot like, the book's concept. It feels a little like J.A. Cipriano's Magic Pen series. in which anything that's written by the magic pen actually occurs, it takes place, it happens, it rewrites reality. Then again, it also reminds me of Harold and the Purple Crayon, the kids show. So, there's a couple things there. But either way, Frazetta tells the story of a man who learns that anything he draws, because of this tome he has, it comes to life. So, of course, the MC gets this, at the beginning of the story, he gets this interview with a comic book company, and he suddenly learns that he has the ability to bring anything he draws to life. Natch, being a superhero fan, he begins to create superheroes. And then, being a man, he proceeds to make it his mission to bet every character he creates. I mean, if I'm honest, I would do one of two things. Okay? I would either draw the most evil, terrible monsters I could conceive of and unwittingly unleash them upon the world. Or I would draw hot babes for me to have sex with. So yeah, the world would be overrun by monsters. But if I were a younger man, maybe it would be different. I don't know. I'd probably do the same thing, but monsters are just, for me, way cooler. And I'm just done with sex anyway. I'm married, so there's no sex drive anymore. It's just gone. It's been beaten out of me. Anyway, I digress. The unfortunate side of things is that the MC is really kind of a chump. And there are points that he is unlikable, points where he does stupid stuff, claims to have learned from it, and then repeats the little process all over again. And there is no relationship building like in most harems, and that is my biggest issue here. The people in the harem deserve to be treated like people and have a bond with the MC and not seem so much like a one-night stand, which, in this case, it kind of does have that sensation, that feeling. I don't know how to put it in a way. Like I say, the book, there are times when I think there are flashes of brilliance. I really love the concept of bringing, something to life from your imagination. I'll never forget when I was a kid, there was this Amazing Stories episode, Steven Spielberg Amazing Stories, where this guy created this goop and anything it got on became real, and he ended up putting this goop on this poster in his bedroom, and then this hot chick came out and she fell in love with the guy's brother or something like that, and it takes off and he creates this monsters. That was really cool, and I like that premise a lot. And then, like I said, J.A. Cipriano came out with, the Magic Pen series, and that was I love that series so much. And that's one of those harem style things too. But I can't really do anything with it because Amazon doesn't carry that anymore, nor does Audible. So the whole premise is there. It's got a whole bunch of stuff that can be unpacked, and it just quite did not hit the mark for me like it should have. And I think a lot of it was just the way that the MC behaves. The MC's actions, his attitude, his thoughts, his everything he does is just not where I was this is a really cool guy. And I'll be the first to admit, I have written personally a book about a man that you should not like, but that was the whole point to it. You weren't supposed to like the guy that I had a story with. He was a criminal. He was just down and dirty. He was a cold-blooded survivor. So for that purpose, I didn't want to make him even remotely friendly or appreciative. I wanted you to say this guy's an a-hole and he's just doing what he needs to survive. Here, you're supposed to want to try to like the guy, and it kind of falls apart. And the only reason why I even have any modicum of appreciation for him is because of Chris Graves. Graves really pulls out all the stops and does a lot of work here. He does a lot of heavy lifting. Like I said, I referred to him as being like Atlas before, and that was no accident. I totally intended to get that metaphor that he's carrying this book on his back, because he totally does. Not that the Andrea Parsnow doesn't do a lot here. She's amazing as always. And like I said, I don't think I've ever had anything negative to say about Andrea at all. Dookie. But anyway, she does exactly what she has to do here, and she makes her characters way more likable than the MC. And that's all I can say. And Chris tries. He really does. But it's just the writing. And like I say, if I had to read the book, it would have been a different story. And sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes I'll say if I had to read the book, I would have loved it, as opposed to the narration where I hated it. Here, I had to listen to the book for me to enjoy it just a bit. So it's not a bad book, but it just has points where I just say the MC really needed to have some work to improve, to make me more appreciative of him, because if you don't like the guy, you're not going to like the story. And I just think he had major flaws that just kept repeating. And if it hadn't been a repetition like that, maybe it wouldn't have driven me so crazy. But Chris really, really goes above and beyond and takes this by the hand, and he literally saves the book. Because I will say my final score is 7.5 stars, as the main character is inconsistent and unlikable, barely likable, I would say. But Chris makes it possible for you to say, I can handle that guy. I can see what he's doing. Maybe I'm just going to say I can chalk it up to stupidity rather than likability. But either way, Chris saves the book. I mean, the book, it would have been a lot less if Chris hadn't have handled it as well as he had. So, good on him. Very great job. And if you have to, check out Chris Graves and other stuff. I really recommend him. And, of course, Andrea Parsnow. Oh, love her to death. But then again, who doesn't? Everybody does. She's just amazing. So, like I say, if you really want to, check it out. Like I said, you won't be disappointed by the performances. Performances are spot on. I will give a chef's kiss to this. And it does have... So, by the way, there is a lot of sex in this book. Did I just use that word? Yep, I did. It's saucy, it's spicy, and it's there. So if you're looking for it, it's there, and it is a powerful impact of the book. So if you like that sort of stuff, you're going to love the book. Again, like I said, I just go for a little bit more past that. I can listen to it and enjoy it, but I need more story, or I need more characterization. And for me, characters are what sell me a story. I could read a story, as much as I hate to say this, with no real plot to it. It can just be a slice of life. And if I like the character, I'm gonna like the book. And then here, this needed a bit more of a cohesive tale to it for me to really get to it. Because, like I said, Chris does a great job. But, the MC does have his flaws. So 7.5 stars. So next up is Harem at the End of the Galaxy by Kyle Kens, narrated by Charlie Boswell. This is the series of the Harem at the End of the Galaxy, books 1 through 5, actually all together mushed into one book, for a book length of 6 hours and 39 minutes.
I hate shit that goes beep when I'm trying to sleep. Clayton Parks, live and in the flesh. A pause. His vitals look good, so why isn't he awake? Traveling through the vortex may have affected his brain. We always knew it was a possibility. If he never wakes up, everything's beeping and female yapping. Just what I didn't need after a long day at the office. Although, hadn't it been morning a minute ago? I don't understand it. According to the brain monitor, he should be awake already. Maybe you didn't set it up right, Darlene.
So End of the Galaxy has, or I should say had, the potential to be really great. And there are some really strong spots in the book. I'll be honest and say that the cover is what really kept me from checking this book out earlier. It's just one of those things where you look at it and you're like, this is a cheap, cheesy kind of novel, and it's not anything I'm going to be remotely interested in reading. And I'm a really big snob on that. I know that not everybody can afford a nice cover, and I think the cover is probably one of the most important things a book can have, but it kind of steered me away for a bit. And this is also a book in which, and I know I'm going to say this later on, there's going to be different opinions about this as I go through this. This is a book in which is completely read from a male narrator, and I have a few things to say about that. Charlie Boswell narrates the book, and I think he's a great narrator. I really do. One who can read clearly and tell an effective story and even add humor where it belongs. The problem is he does not do female voices very well, or I should say at all. I mean, he barely made an attempt to make any of the characters even sound remotely feminine, and that did take away the tail for me, just a touch. I mean, you're going to have like, but then again, I've thought about it, and I'm thinking, well, would you rather have the male voice being a male voice for a female, or a male voice like, and then I went to the store? Does that work? I don't think that works any more than, just flat out just talking like a man, making no attempt. And so for me, I'd rather not have the fake attempt or the pitiful attempt. And I'm talking about, like, if you've ever seen Venture Brothers, Dr. Girlfriend, if you just heard Dr. Girlfriend without the visual aid of her drawing, you'd be like, what's with this dude doing the voice for this Dr. Girlfriend character? And, you just have to have that visual aid. And without it, it doesn't work. And it takes a lot of suspension of disbelief. Okay, on the other hand, I think he does a decent job in his storytelling. I think the issue is that this is a book that has a mountain of sex and lady parts, vocally speaking, as in roles. But there are lady parts in it too, that he has to do. And some guys, as listeners, may have an issue with that. I don't know, where you stand on this. It was kind of a rough sell for me to begin with, but after I just kind of said I can get through this and focus on the story and the storytelling, it wasn't as bad as I would have thought it was, but it just didn't bring it to the level it needed to be for that sort of thing. The story is pretty much geared toward getting to the graphic sex scenes as soon as often as possible, but it does manage to have a good plot and lots of sci-fi elements, including time travel. The book is a compilation of 5 novellas and centers on a military guy who gets pulled back and forth through time by the last remaining women who are looking for a way to repopulate the humanity that has been wiped out by this alien virus. And as a collection of stories, they're kind of hit and miss in quality. But for the most part, there's some that are really good, some are decent, and just one or two that are just like, it gets by, but it's just not amazing. In fact, if you took out all the sex, it would be a pretty good, just so you know, I'm just giving you this up front, not that the sex scenes are bad or not worth listening to or whatever, but if you took out all the sex scenes, it would be a good sci-fi time travel novel all on its own. It really would. I think it would actually be a better story without all that, to a certain extent. I mean, you kind of have the drive for him to need to repopulate humankind and save everybody. But you could take out the sex and it would still been a good story. It would just been a lot shorter. I just figured, don't ever make this symbol with your fingers when you're talking about spicy novels, harem novels. That doesn't look good for the guys. Anyway, the MC, Clayton, he's like the last dude in the galaxy who has viable junk with stuff in his trunk, so to speak. In other words, he's the last living possible male baby maker in the universe for humans. And he ends up getting pulled into the future and bounced back into the past periodically. And it becomes a story about trying to make course corrections in the past, and as it does, is saving the future via making love. Now, the book is a short listen. It's only, 6.5 hours, and it might just be up your alley. And I don't want to turn you off to anything. For me, it was okay. And while I say that Boswell was a good narrator, I think it's clear he needed a partner here with him to help on this particular story. It would have been really, really much better to put in another lady to help. And again, you can't fault him, because just like I say about the covers, not everyone can afford a great cover, but not everyone can afford to have 2 narrators for the price of 1. It just doesn't work like that. So, where it would have been much better having a female come in and step in and do the lady parts, it is what it is. So you kind of have to go with that. So I'm giving points based on the quality of the writing, and my final score is 7 stars. The simple addition of a good female narrator, I think the quality would have increased exponentially and made a huge difference in things. So next up is Monster Girl Galaxy by Austin Beck, narrated by Christian J. Gilliland, with a book length of 7 hours and 4 minutes.
From a technical standpoint, the move wasn't a challenge to perform. Nonetheless, I could make it look insanely cool, and the cheers were deafening when I executed the move. Casper, the referee, would let us know when the match was 30 minutes in, and then I would perform the Prepare to Die DDT, and I would climb up to the top of the cage and perform the Double Deuce Moonsault for the win. We have done thousands of matches over the years, and we would put a nice show together for the fans. At least that was the plan in my eyes. Professional wrestlers receive a lot of flack from many people, but we are professionals and do what needs to be done. There's a lot of pride and loyalty in our line of work. Casper motioned me into the mega cage, and the door was locked behind the three of us. Death Row pounced on me almost immediately. Just as I expected, the punches were stronger than they should have been. The fans were enjoying it, so I didn't have a problem with it. It made them happy and made Roe feel a bit more manly.
So here is a new one by Austin Beck, who continues to write what he knows, which is basically mixed martial arts and pro wrestling people. Adding those two things into an edition of a harem, which I think Austin fantasizes about, like most men, only more intently. This is an isekai adventure in which the world-famous wrestler gets taken to outer space and finds himself in the middle of an intergalactic game-lit-style world called Zorth. Now, the book has a wandering style, which tells me that this is a slice-of-life story rather than one with an overarching storyline that it will complete at some point. I mean, it will have a completion. I'm sure it's a trilogy. It's going to be a 3-book novel series, but it really doesn't have like A, B, and then C, which wraps everything up. It's kind of like A will just go into B, and B will go into C, and that will be the end of it. And that's fine. I'm just letting you know it's a slice of life, because I do have issues with slice of life stories most times. And to be honest, this time it really fits. I don't think that Mr. Dalton, the MC, is somebody who would have a vision of things beyond the ring, so to speak. But he gets a unique class and is helped along the way by his quickly building harem of monster women. Now, I have to be honest. I would find it very difficult to be attracted to monster girls. And I've never seen the appeal of like fox girls, and I'm trying to think what they're called now in most books. Just literally listened to a book the other day about a guy that was like all hot for a fox girl, and I just cannot remember what it was. But I always wonder why. What is the appeal of fox chicks? Although I do admit I find women who dress up like bunnies, like Playboy bunnies with the little bunny nose and the speckles, and then the bunny tail, hot. And kitty cats for Halloween, they're super sexy as hell. So I can understand the appeal to some degree. I mean, I'm not into cats or bunnies, but when women dress like that, I'm just, oh, meow. And it might be a Batman Catwoman thing from when I was a kid, Julie Newmar. I mean, who did not love Julie Newmar in the 60s? Boom, right there. I'm just saying. So I also know that there's a huge group of people out there who enjoy this exact kind of thing, the monsters, the harem, the hot monstery girls. And I know this book will absolutely appeal to them. This isn't a rompy, bumpy, humpy, humps, then cut style harem, like some books get so deeply into, like, the fade to black. This is a rather descriptive and to the point and does not fade to black at all. Not remotely. Not even, not across the room remotely. So like I say, pleasantly graphic in its style and pace. And like I say, Beck, he kind of likes his OP characters as his MC, Dalton, is a hardcore butt kicker right out of the gate, and he only gets stronger as he goes along. So if you're looking for somebody who kind of develops as they go, forget it, because that's just not his style. He starts off, he's a badass wrestler, and he becomes even rougher, tougher as he goes along. It's kind of like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, gets superpowers, and he goes out and he does his job, And I only say that because I know some people have issues with overpowered characters. I myself like to see people start out weak and then grow as they go along, but I've also been enjoying Superman stories since I was a wee lad, and and that dude had superpowers and super abilities that appeared whenever he needed them, like super ventriloquism, super breath, super asphalt eating, whatever it was, he had the ability to do it as long as the story required it. And Superman always won. If he got defeated, it wasn't him. It was a Superman robot. Believe me, that's how old I am. I have these stories still. I have these books. So, I can empathize with people who just say, I like OP people and go there and stay with it, because I've read millions of Superman comics. I've read millions of Hulk books. And Hulk is the strongest there is. And, no matter what you say, I'll put Hulk against anybody. Superman, Thor, that is it. Hulk he always gets stronger. So, I don't have an issue with overpowered characters that much. Some people do. So I'm laying it out there. Now, Christian J. Gilliland does an excellent job narrating. I have enjoyed him for a while, and I think he has been steadily improving as he goes along. I mean, he's also a writer, so if you want to check out some of his stuff, check out his narration, and then check out his writing. I know that most times that male narrators get banged when doing harem books solo, but there are a few men who can do rough voices and then seductive voices. Jeff Hayes, for example, he can pull it off. The incredible Luke Daniels never really struck me as being able to do more than sound like a dude trying to talk like a woman. So, like, as much as I loved the Tamer series, it was just like Luke doing, like Trella had an accent, and somebody else had an accent, and it was like, so him doing different accents with a softer voice never really bought them as being feminine. Christian does great, and I think that he more than acquitted himself doing this book alone, as opposed to the Harem at the End of the Galaxy, which, again, not LitRPG, but I'm adding it in here because it's a Harem book, and I thought I would just kind of have some fun with it. He pulls it off much better. He's got a better voice for that sort of thing. And, yeah, I mean, I will always say, if you could bring in a lady to do it, bring in a lady to do it. But, and like I said, I think Jeff's the only person I would ever say that doesn't need that. In this case, I think that Christian does really well. I would personally like to hear the lady doing lady bits. Yep, every time, but not every author can afford two narrators. In this case, Beck doesn't need a second narrator to carry the story. Gilliland pulls this off nicely. So the story is full of action. It's full of sex. What more do I need to say? I mean, it is just a wild romp through, outer space, crazy times, and it's enjoyable. I really, for a slice of life book, it kept my attention. It kept me going. I enjoyed it. And I'm going to say 8.2 stars. It does hop from point to point, but the writing is improved since MMAC, and it does feed into a lot of guys' fantasies. So give it a try. For those wondering, I will review Beck's first book later. That's his mixed martial arts cultivator, hence the MMAC. There are some things that I'm waiting for before I do that. But give this book a try. If you've read the other one and you liked it, you'll love this because I think it's actually better now. The writing is improved. And I think we all know who really Austin Beck is, but I don't want to give away any trade secrets here. But his writing has continued to improve with every book he's done. I mean, there's that. And he has a preference for slice of life stories. He just kind of sets down and goes wherever he lets the story take him. And in this one, he has a really good time with it. I think you'll really enjoy this. And like I say, it's Harem in outer space and Monster Girls. So if you like Harem, if you like Monster Girls especially, you'll love it because there are some unique Monster Girls in here. And I think that Beck really pulls this one off. Probably his best thing he's ever written. I'll put it like that. But there's always room for improvement, and I think he'll have better stories to come. So, okay, and tonight, finally, we come to the end of the show. This is our Soundbooth Spotlight, featuring what? Psychobitches, Tear It Up, by Jamie Hogg. Narrated by Jeff Hayes, Annie Ellicott, Yvonne Sin, or is it Yvonne? Yvonne? Ivana Sin. Anyway, Justin Thomas James. Brother! I miss you, brother. Okay, and it has a book length of 5 hours in 56 minutes.
A new round of shooting started. A ship taking off and then a moment later being hit by something, only to careen back down and, judging by the sound of it, explode. Things were heating up back over at the asylum. "We have to lie low," I said, looking out at the darkness as bursts of light and more explosions went off. "It's too crazy out there."
Crazy?
Bad choice of words. Sherry considered it, then shrugged.
Personally, I've always liked the label, but I like Psycho even better. Call me Miss Psychobitch, 100%.
I'm not calling you that.
Well, as Andy Rooney used to say, here's a book that you'll wish was longer than what it really is. I mean, 6 hours just wasn't enough, and I'm going to tell you why. Psychobitches, love that title, by the way, is like an 80s, a late 80s, rated R popcorn action flick made for Cinemax, okay? The title isn't just about like the titular girls inside the novel, although the titular girls, I get you, but it's a descriptor for what is held within. It's just a bunch of crazy stuff going on. The MC and his squad of crazy bees, see, I can tone it down a little bit, do indeed tear it up. They do. It literally goes a little something like this. Fight, rest, have sex, fight again, wash, rinse, repeat, fight. You get the idea. That's the story. Okay, so if you're looking for something deep like William Shakespeare, alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, a fellow of infinite jest, you're not going to get that. That's not what you're looking for with this book. You're looking for crazy, fun, unbelievableness, and you're going to get it. It is frantic. It is frenetic. It's frenzied. It's a tale that doesn't seem to have a pause button. It is unrelenting in its delivery, and each and every action is pursued to its utmost urgency. No one here in this book slacks. Now, again, you're not going to see this huge amount of character development or, whatever you're looking for. It is just a fun storyline. Fun book. Short, but fun. Ezra, I'll give you the example. The MC is sort of like a combination of Blondie from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Deckard from Blade Runner, The Mandalorian, just thrown in there for fun, and Leonard Smalls, who was my favorite bounty hunter of all time. And kudos, if you know where he's from, Leonard Smalls is from Raising Arizona. The greatest bounty hunter ever portrayed on the screen or TV. He is tough, cool, under pressure. But more importantly, he's cool when he's under one of his psycho bees. Oh, yeah. So, Ezra is pretty much the standard guy that you go to when the crap's hitting the fan and you need someone who's going to be calm and cool and can handle things. This is the cat you go to. And he's going to get stuff done. He's totally going to get it done. The girls, trio, four-way, I can't remember. I'll go through them in here. They're the result of combining several pornos with Kill Bill's Deadly Viper Squad and maybe Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch Fantasy Girls. They are Europa, Tink, Cherry, and Letha, so 4. And they are the members of his crazy harem, Ezra's crazy harem. The result is cool characters getting to wild situations and just reveling in their survival. So like I say, there's action, there's fighting, there's blood, there's killing, then there's sex. And then it just kind of goes like into this nice little cycle of fun. And it's a lot like if you've read anything else of, Jamie Hawk's, like X Supers or, something along those lines, you're going to enjoy that, like just to no end. It's just going to be great. This is not a novel that you will expect to see a lot of character growth. And if I have a complaint, it is just that this book is far too short. But that's something I've just come to expect with Jamie's books. You get a lot of bang for your buck, but the fireworks don't last for long or light up the sky as long as you would like. But that's okay. I mean, you get the bang for your buck, believe me. Generally with Jamie, you find the book is over before you know it, which is the truth. But that's because his writing is so engaging. I often find that I finish one of his books the same day that I started and didn't even realize it was getting ready to go. I mean, as an Easter egg, just so you all know this, for all you Hawk fans, he pulls in other characters from other series he's written. So, keep an eye out and you might get pleasantly surprised. I know I was, or maybe be pleasantly unsurprised because I've kind of spoiled that for you. But I know I was really kind of like, oh, wait, they're from here and they're from here. So it was a pretty fun thing. Now, Soundbooth Burlesque. Let's just take a second here and talk about Soundbooth Burlesque. SBB, as opposed to SBT, SBB animates Hawk's words to such a degree that you want to listen to this completely alone because the visuals that you will get will manifest in the air around you. So if you're thinking, about the sex scene, you're going to be like telling everybody in the world you're watching a sex scene. You're in a show. I mean, it's not, you get it. I'm exaggerating slightly. SBT as a whole continues to bring their A game. And they show that each performance gets just a little bit better every time they do something new. One thing that I really appreciated is that the sound effects were not quite overwhelming as they have been sometimes in the past. And I've never really let that bother me. I'm a big fan of OTR, old-time radio shows, and that's where the thing is like sound effects have always been interplayed with those things. So, having sound effects or music come up is all right. I just don't like it when it's a little too loud, so I can't hear people talking or it distracts me. It's good for like a background noise, but I don't like to have it where it kind of throws me off. And they don't do that here. It is just perfect. It is effective and used with precision to the utmost effect. It doesn't distract from the performances at all. And the boys, and I have to say the boys, like Jeff and JTJ, brother, they're kind of like Maverick and Goose. They're the top guns as far as I'm concerned. These guys know how to fly their planes. They've got their stick well in hand on this. Believe me, not making a joke, sort of. So I mean, but and they're ready to blast their missiles. Believe me, because this book is it's wild. Okay, so when they come in and they're doing their thing, you're like, holy crap. This is just unreal. And they are flying the friendly skies, believe me. Now, Annie and Yvonne are the Thelma and Louise of the narrators here because they absolutely steal the show and absolutely kill. They are believable as hot and heavy seductresses. And as much as they are manic mad maidens on a rampage, a killer rampage, they're also very tender and soft and sweet in unexpected times and places. The resulting combo of crazy goddesses and commanding men melds into a magnificent freeway pileup of clowns, aliens, fires, and tornadoes. All that's insane, but it's so fun you want to be a part of it regardless of how crazy it seems. So, don't get discouraged or distracted. I really recommend this book. I've liked everything Hawk has ever done. Jamie Hawk is a really good writer. And again, I think that my biggest complaint with Jamie is he just doesn't do a whole lot of writing per book. It's 60,000 words, maybe you hit close to 70 with something, but it's just short and sweet. And if that works for him and you're okay with it, then God bless, because I'll tell you, the guy knows how to write. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to do his harem stuff because it's very explicit and it doesn't hold back. And that's one of those things I want you to be aware of. Like I say, it doesn't hold back. There's nobody blocking the gate, blocking the door. It's right out and it's in the open, and it's rough and tough and sexy and hot and saucy. So, and I don't know how many times I've said hot and saucy or spicy in this whole episode today, but I bet it's been a lot. It's been a lot. So anyway, the book is really great, and this is one of those ones where I can proudly say I really enjoyed this. This is probably like out of the bunch, one of my favorites. It's probably, I can't say it's my prime, but I mean, because I really like Pirate Elves, and there's other books here, but this right here, like the Gryff the Griffin Rider was good too. These are just incredible books, and so get out there, get this, pick up the other ones I'm telling you about, because they're all fun books. Even like the Harem at the End of the Galaxy. It's not LitRPG, but it tells its story, and it's a good story. It just isn't a perfect story. There's some highs and lows to it, but so what? It's a good tale. So check them out, dig it, but get this book if you're going to get anything. Jamie Hawk is fantastic, and you're going to get with him. It's just pure craziness on fire. Okay, so pick it up. 8.4 stars. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our naughty episode. I do hope you've enjoyed the episode this time around. If not, we'll have some less spicy, saucy kind of things next episode. So again, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch or listen to the show. If you want to support us, you can like the LitRPG Podcast Facebook page or the YouTube page, or just like and share the video. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed our show. Please leave comments or suggestions below, down that way. And feel free to tell me whatever you like. I enjoy the feedback. Remember, you can always follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you're not aware, we do have episodes on Audible now. Ooh, Audible. Are you kidding me? No, we're serious. It's on Audible. So dig those episodes, pretty baby. And again, thank you all for the luscious support of this show, the naughty episode. More of those to come in the future, but we kind of space those out just to make it not every day that you have that sort of thing happen. So until next time, pretty babies, keep listening.